What's going on, guys? So, I've been doing some research, some Celtic research. As you know, I've been kind of working on my own book, my own mythology. Now, as I've been trying to figure out the story of Eris, the more and more I've been led down this strange path of Welsh and Irish literature, mythology, art, you name it, just a bunch of stuff. And one of a few names, but one name that comes up the most is Taliesin, which is a bard at some point in Welsh history. Not a whole lot known about him, but I found some of his poetry inside of this right here. This is the Celtic Heroic Age. This book cost me a lot of fucking money because it's basically all the literary sources for ancient Celtic Europe and early Ireland and Wales. Every fucking thing ever mentioned, it feels like, is in here. From the beginning of, like, on this rock way back in the day, it might have said this, to more like things of the 11th century mentioning Celtic peoples and all of their beliefs and all of their mythologies. It's a very good book if you're doing research of the Celts. This is helping, but I had to also get a book called The Prophecies. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it's The Prophecies of Taliesin. That one book cost me like $200 fucking. Since there's not a lot of them in print, it's actually one of the best translations of his poetry ever, as I understand, by a woman named Margaret Haycock. I'm just finishing up this other book. It's an older book. It's by a guy named Charles Squire. And it's like the legends and something of the Celtic studies, or I don't remember. It's just a book about in his time, what they believed about the Celtic peoples, and it does a lot of like comparative mythology, and it does a lot of unraveling stories and connections and all that. And he made mention of something that I'm keeping in my mind. This is like a 19th century understanding when it comes to the comparative mythologies, at least Celtically. He said something along the lines of, sometimes a lot of these myths have the same idea of the battling of light and darkness, day and night, which could be the understanding of like sun gods and this and that. And the other part is people or a person going into Hades, the underworld, the other world, some place that's not here, retrieving something and coming back for the betterment of mankind. Now, I say that, and I go, why? So why do we feel the need? Like, we're going to kind of walk away from the day and night stuff. You could go anywhere with that. You could say, like, oh, it's just sun god worship. It's the understanding of the sun and the darkness and blah, blah, or it could be good and bad and everything in between. So that part, we're not going to venture into it. But the idea that he placed in my head, this Charles Squire, which is, he did a lot of, he mentioned a lot of this Rhys guy, R-H-Y-S, and that was like a Celtic studies kind of guy back in the 1800s. And they kind of made mention of that idea of going into this other place, Hades, the other world, the underworld, whatever, getting something and coming back. Now, that's kind of give me pause. Merely because I think of my story. I think of Eris. And I think of what he's meant to do. And so I ask myself, is Eris meant to go to some other place? Is he meant to go to some other place and bring something back? I would say yes, he is. As I was thinking of that, I didn't necessarily know that was in these old stories. Now, the difference so far from me, I've kind of explored in the now it's called the Forgotten King podcast series. Now I was exploring the idea, and I made mention of it in the Forgotten People, and I made mention of it in episode, and I made mention of it inside the episode of The Keepers. And we're talking about this otherworldly place, and I was terming it the mind of God. this realm in which you can access inside of your mind. And in doing that, it allows you to transcend in your own mind, to use as a tool to regain the memories that were long lost. Whether these memories were yours or your creators. It's yet to be truly defined, but I don't want to limit that. Now, getting back to this Celtic stuff about going into this other place and getting something. Okay. With Eris, when he goes into this other place, he is meant to bring back an understanding. He is meant to bring back the memories. Something fought and won. His purpose is to help regain the knowledge that was long lost from his creator. His creator seeks him to regain what was lost due to some unfortunate events that happened. Why is that story the way it is? I've explored in the Forgotten King podcast series. But I want to read to you something inside what is called the Book of Taliesin. And it's called The Spoils of Anuvan, or some shit. But it says the spoils of the unworld. Interesting, right? Interesting because the idea is, within the mythology that I'm working on, the manifested and the unmanifested. The unmanifested is a fragmentary mental world that is used to combine with bringing to reality. The unmanifested is the dream world, as I understand it. So I'm keeping that in mind. The spoils of the unworld, the spoils of transcending into, as I define, the dream world, okay? I'm not saying that's what they think it is. I don't know what they thought it was, but I can't ask them because they've been dead for too many fucking thousands of years to ask. It begins with, I exalt the sovereign lord, prince, king of the realm, who has extended his dominion over the Tractus Mundi. I looked up Tractus Mundi in Latin. It says something along, what is a Tractus? It's an anthem sung in some Roman Catholic masses. So this could be like added into it by some fucking Christian. Like, hold on, we gotta make it Christian real quick. I don't know, but if you were to say what Tractus Mundi, which is trailed, to have been trailed, extracted, withdrawn, and Mundi is world. So like the extracted, the withdrawn, the plunder. The crazy thing here is, as I said, the unworld for me. And I know that beginning could be like, no, that's a Christian beginning. That he's making mention of blah blah blah. I don't know, okay? But I'm gonna give it to you the way I know shit. If we understand, if I understand the way that it comes across to me, that would be Tractus Mundi, this exalted sovereign lord, king of the realm, who has extended his dominion over this place, this unmanifested place. That is that realm, man. Like, that is the unmanifested. That is the place in which you create. That is where the forgotten king can be trapped. That is the place in which I to make it really easy is I just call it the dream world, right? And that's the first fucking line. And the story is about the unworld, okay? It says, Squire's prison was prepared in the city. I don't know how you pronounce that, I'm sorry. I think I've heard it called the She. Stronghold, which city is like realm. The fairy mound. According to the tale of Priel and Pederi, none before him went into it. The heavy blue chain held the faithful youth. And for the spoils of the unworld he sang shrilly. And until judgment he will persist as an imploring bard. 3 fullnesses of Pridwen we went into it. Except 7, none rose from Caer City, the city fort. He always says that a lot. He's like, we went in here, but 7 returned. But he always kind of comes to that idea of like, but fuck these people, in a sense, because you'll see. It says, I am renowned, resplendent is my song that was heard. In the four-cornered fort, four-sided, my poetry was uttered from the cauldron. By the breath of 9 maids it was kindled. It was the cauldron of the chief of the unworld that was sought, a ridge of pearls around its brim. It does not boil a coward's food. It was not destined to do so. A sword of lightning slaughter was raised to it, and was left in the hands of Lemenuek. I don't know what that is. And before the door of hell's gate, lanterns burned. And when we went with Arthur, a brilliant labor, except 7, none returned from the fort of intoxication. I am renowned, resplendent is my song that they hear. In the four-cornered fort, island of the strong door, running water and jet are mixed. Bright wine was the liquor for the host. 3 fullnesses of Pridwen we went on sea, except 7, none returned from the frigid fort. I set no value on the director's wretched scribes, though the glass fort they did not see Arthur's courage. 6,000 men were standing on its wall. Conversing with their sentinel was difficult. 3 fullnesses of Pridwen went with Arthur, except 7, none returned from the concealed fort. I set no value on weak men, limp-shielded. They know not what was created on what day, and what hour of the day it was born, and where. They know not the speckled ox with its massive headring, 140 facets to its collar. And when we went with Arthur, an appalling tribulation, except 7, none returned from the fort of the divine place. They think. I set no value on weak men of deficient ferocity. They know not of what day the chieftain was appointed, what hour in the day the lord of the land was born, what beast they kept with a silver head. When we went with Arthur, a woeful conflict, except 7, none returned from the enclosed fort. Monks cluster in a pack like a troop of dogs, shrinking from encounters with the lords who know whether it is the path of the wind, or that of the sea water, or that of the sparks of an unquenchable uproar of fire. Monks cluster in a pack like wolves, shrinking from encounters with the lords who shall find them out. They know not when the dawn and darkness divide. They know not which course, which onset, which place is wasted, which land strikes. I exalt the sovereign, great prince. He's going with Arthur, this bard, and he's singing the praises of this. A bunch of dudes went in there, only 7 came back. What they were at, the part of the cauldron, that part is interesting to me just in and of itself, because he says, my poetry was uttered from the cauldron. By the breath of 9 maidens it was kindled. It was the cauldron of the chief of the unworld that was sought, a ridge of pearls around its brim. It does not boil a coward's food. It was not destined to do so. A sort of lightning slaughter was raised to it, and was left in the hand of, and I can't read it, this is Lemenuek, I don't know. I don't know if that means the sword came from it or the sword was raised to it to destroy it. I have no fucking idea. You know, I can't understand it fully. But there's not going to be any answers made in this video. It's merely me posing questions of like, man, what the fuck does that mean? Like I said, with the unworld, the unmanifested, which is the opposite of manifestation, which means it comes from the world of the other. Again, simplified, the dream world. So in saying that, and they had to venture in it, the first part of the poem, whether it's some monk adding it to make it Christian, I don't know, probably, but I do believe in synchronicities. And it says he exalts this prince, this great king of this withdrawn, this extracted, this plundered world. And for me, extracted must mean it was a place that had it was pulled from already. I don't know if that's what they're saying, or if it can be pulled from. It can be extracted from. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if it's saying, like, the king of this world that things can be taken from, or has been taken from and now it's plundered. I don't know. Regardless, no matter which way I could put it, to me, them doing this has given me this enlightenment of what I'm doing in my mythology. It's so fucking crazy. I swear, if someone's watching this video and this just goes little viral, like the last one's, like 3,000 views for no reason, like, I'm gonna be fucking irritated because they're not gonna know what the hell I'm talking about. But people that have been watching these videos, and you can see what I've been doing with my mythology, and now I I stumble upon this Celtic stuff, and it's talking about stuff in its own way that is eerily similar to the mythology I'm making. It just ignites in me this belief that we're on the right path. I don't know exactly where we're going from here. I sense we're approaching a new chapter. I made mention to it to the guys that I work with. I kind of told them, I was like, you know, I do feel like we're stepping into another chapter. I feel like the book is about to grow even deeper, because I'm at this point now where we've worked the mythology for so long, and then there was a period where I was by myself trying to decipher it all, and it was years of me trying to decipher, place it together, formulate it, and now the world's taking a shape. And now I'm in the phase where I'm looking at real life Celtic mythology and finding comparative elements to it. Not necessarily to copy, because there is nothing to copy, because every time I'm like, fucking A, I'm already doing that. Okay. It's just, you know, I guess I could copy names. I don't know, I could put Taliesin in it and all these cool Celtic names, I guess, if I really wanted to. Just pull a Tolkien. But my point is, I've been doing this, and it's just been igniting in me the idea that we're doing this. It's happening. And I can't tell you in a way that, you know, that has any profound meaning to you, but as it does for me, it's astounding to see just how this has grown. And like, I'm getting to the point with all of this that it's starting to really get very serious. Like, there are books that I want that are getting expensive. This was not fucking cheap. The Book of Taliesin, the modern translation of that was like $200 fucking dollars. There's a 3-book set of Irish literature from medieval times to 20th century. And it's like fucking $500. And I'm gonna have to get that because I need it, because I gotta study it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm getting to the point in my studies where it's starting to get academic. It's starting to get expensive. It's not layman shit, even though I am a layman doing it. But the idea is, it's so connected. It's like multifaceted. I am trying to understand my heritage, my people, my past. There's that element of it. You know, being over here in America, this is all forgotten. I can't even read the tongue of my ancestors. You know what I mean? I look at Welsh and Irish and I'm like, I can't fucking pronounce that. And that's fucking sad. Like, that's ancestors. Like, you can't speak your ancestors' tongue. That's fucked up. So I'm trying to learn. But there's that element of it, of seeking where I came from as a people. Not only that, but the mythology. And then as I'm working on my own mythology, I'm noticing it's reflecting that on its own, merely by accident, now on purpose. And it just tells me, like, this is right. This is exactly what's meant to be. I once told the guys that sometimes I wonder if mythologies are vessels of truth. Vessels of truth in terms of There was some ancient story that keeps getting passed down, and it's so immense that it takes on many different forms. And it's so interwoven into our DNA that it keeps resurfacing, but it loses a little more every time. I feel like it's well preserved in Celtic mythology to the point where if I could take it and put another vessel to it, as in extract all old Welsh and Irish, Scottish, Gaelic, whatever, all those stories, and put them in a new vessel, it can keep living on in some sense. It can take on its own life. Though the name Owapake and Thais mean absolutely nothing to the past, they do mean something to me. And that means that they can take on this new vessel. So the story keeps going. Why I feel the need to do that is beyond me. But I guess the main thing I want to make mention in this video is I really feel like I'm onto something here. Like I'm starting to really get down that road. I mean, I still flounder, trust me. I'm still like completely fucking lost. But I have a better understanding of where I am and where I'm trying to go. Like now I kind of can go a little farther now, and in saying that, I can sense a new chapter, a new arm is about to grow from this creation, a new, like as a flower and it blooms, like there's a new growth happening. A new leaf is about to come from the stem. A new branch on this massive tree is growing. I can sense that, and it's very profound to me. And I think it's kind of funny that like on this channel you're absolutely floundering to try to figure out what the fuck's going on, which is the point, because that's how this book's supposed to feel. But I'm just like fucking astounded by all this, man. I really am. There is no limit to where this can go. I feel like I've rambled for like 20 minutes and said absolutely nothing. How very Jewish of me. Quick updates. I am nowhere near knowing what to do for the Forgotten series. I have the script written out. Mostly. It's mostly written out. Half on the computer, half on the typewriter. I have to take the typewriter copy and put it onto the computer. I don't know where to put it. It's completely its own story. I don't know how to lay it. And I'm just like staring at it blank. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And it's debilitating. There's an encounter with Aruan that happens in there as well. I don't know what's gonna I don't know what to do there. So I'm just like sitting there. It's been like almost fucking 2 months, and I'm still like, I haven't even, it's been that done, what I just described. It's been like that for 2 months. I've done this a long time ago. I don't know how to finish it. I don't know when that will come out at all. It's just so fucking difficult. I feel like I'm missing something, and I sit in front of that screen and I don't feel it's there. So I don't want to ever like, well, I'll just make this something. I don't know what to do, and I will let it sit for a little. This might be the longest wait for the next Forgotten video. In book 2, the reread has come to a grinding halt because it's getting to, it's just like there's so much to be figured out there. High story stuff. There's a lot of like interesting, I have to figure this stuff out. There's a lot of lore things I got. Let me just show you 2 things that we've come to a head on. I don't remember how to spell it. Finn McCool. Taliesin. These are the 2 guys that I've stumbled on from Irish literature and Welsh. Those 2 names make me think of Eris. Now I understand those are two completely different things. He's a bard. At least that's how he was described. And this guy is like, I don't know necessarily. Was he a king? Was he a chieftain? I don't know much. Like that's how like I'm walking into this room, the Finian cycle, and then learning about Taliesin. And so I just keep thinking I'm at the point where I've walked enough into Irish and Welsh mythologies to start noticing that Eris resembles these two, right? And these two, and I know, like, this is not how it should be interpreted if you want to understand true Irish and Welsh mythology, but I think of these two as the same as the Dagda and I keep forgetting if it's Lu. I'm just going to say that right now. Forgive me if it's either Lu or Nuada. I don't remember. I'm not comparing. I'm not saying Finn McCool is Lu and basically Taliesin's the Welsh version of Dagda. I don't know yet. But I do see that there's a difference in a sense of leadership that Eris will take on, whereas this is more like a creative, a more unmanifested. He talks about going into this other world as some kind of bard alongside Arthur, and he is describing that his cauldron inside this other place, okay? And I just see the Dagda. I know that he had this cauldron, but I do see him as like a leader of a more spiritual side, a more shamanistic, priestly leader. Because you think of leadership or kings or, you know, a chieftain, you think of two different types, the warrior one and then the kind of like shamanistic, priestly, more spiritual leader, right? Peace and war leaders. And I just see that there's a connection between that understanding here and Finn McCool also being kind of like Lu, where it's more of like a warrior thing. Okay? And then that is a dual understanding of manifested and unmanifested. That is the dual understanding of how to access into God. So like you have it at this Venn diagram, you have Lu here, or like Finn, and then you have the Dagda and Taliesin, and that's like the dream world, and this is like our world, but there's this crossroads here. And they talk about venturing into it a lot. And these guys always talk about being worthy of going into this place. Well, this place is where I think that the idea of divinity may live. I always call it God frequency. So Eris is meant to access that point as well in his story. But in his story, Eris is walking into this all unknown and to unravel it for himself. And in a sense, he has to become a whole understanding of the Forgotten King. The Forgotten King, TFK, I always call him, or otherwise known as Oapake, has a fragmented self as well. Ake Beowulf being his one half, his warrior half, his like Lu, and the warrior mentality of Cuchulainn and all that shit is on this side, but then he has this spiritual side, which reminds you a lot more of the Dagda, which reminds you a lot more of this Taliesin kind of bardic. I know the bards were like the ones that praised the kings, but this Taliesin seems to always talk about being able to access this other realm, and so maybe bards could do that through their music or some shit. I don't know yet. But that would be this side, and Eris is more inclined here. It's a lot easier for him. This side that chases him throughout the stories is not easy for him. So eventually he has to do this to understand what happened to Oapake. He has to transcend into the mind of God, Oapake, and learn what happened to him, because God needs him to. Imagine God coming to you saying he's got amnesia and he doesn't remember what happened, and it's your job to help him figure it out, because you're the one conduit inside the earthly realm. Well, in this earthly realm, it's Eris. And he's meant to decipher and discern this. He's got to figure out how to bring connection to it and make the Venn diagram. Now, This gives chase to him. This wants him for his purpose, and that wants him for that purpose. But they're not the same. Now, that's where I'm at a crossroads in the story. Because Eris is at this point where he's walking into this conceptually. But I've got too many lore elements that represent characters to help him get to this point. The biggest one is Bentan. And how is Bentan connected to this? Bentan, to me, I'm like, is he Gwyneth Need? I don't remember how you spell that name. I think it's something close to that. Is he him? Is he the leader of this underworldly place? Is he also Finn McCool? Is he kind of like a is he like a Wotan of Germanic legends and shit? Where this being here is supposed to be the leader of something called the Stone. And these represent kind of the wild hunt. In some sense. Not truly, but in some sense it evokes that. Well, if that's the case, and I know that he's been connected to it, and I know that he's been connected to it, and in some senses some people have connected him to it as well. It's very different compared to mythology and shit. You know how that goes. But Bentan is representing this character. But how is Bentan? So what character is he? But also how is he connected to Oapake? What about Dove? That's where I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't necessarily know right now. I understand this being, I understand him, and I understand him. But I don't know how to make it work right now. I don't know how to connect it. It's like, you know, what's a very modern understanding? You know, God, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus. It's like, you can kind of grasp the idea of why they're all a thing. God is not Jesus. Jesus is not that blah blah, but they are all this Trinity shit. That's where I'm at now. And this middle point, that is Eris. So how can he connect to each one of these beings is quite beyond me right now. And that's kind of where we're at in the book. That's why I stopped there. It's there bones wise, but the muscles kind of there as well, but there is no flesh or blood to this. It needs something. So that's what this is. That's why I'm doing this shit. And then on this front, I've come to the point of there's so many doors to go through. I don't know which one I want. So I'm kind of like floundering there as well. I'm coming to a head. This is why I'm saying I feel this is about to grow. Because I'm at a point where I almost feel like I can't do anything. Like, I don't want to write, I don't want to edit, I don't want to make any videos, I don't want to talk about the book anymore. I barely want to fucking do this because I just feel like I'm at a point where I'm like, I'm about to hit a new fucking threshold. It's going to go to this next tier. And I almost feel like going like radio silent in a sense. Just kind of quiet. I may have to for a little bit. No videos, no nothing. I might not even walk into this office. Just because I can sense, man, I don't know how to explain it. I sense some big fucking thing is about to hit me. And it's gonna change everything. Everything. So that's kind of our update. Hopefully soon we'll figure things out. I'll make my little inner thoughts videos. Those are easy to make. I'll just fucking bullshit my way through those as usual. And maybe the Forgotten King podcast series, maybe I can maybe the next one I can do the Anaku. We'll see.